Well, the list of stuff that needs to get done before I fly this airplane is getting shorter. I got these latches from Brian Bowen. These allow you to run the bottoms of the doors open a little bit. One problem I see with these is that they don't really allow for any extra extrusion to protect that lower door channel. So I'm either going to have somebody machine these out a little bit or come up with a different solution, but I do like this. Russell Cole, shout out. He sent me these two brackets, which are surplus to his needs. These are to mount the headset jacks, and he has a USB port. I think I have enough USB ports in the airplane already, so I may just be calling this a lightning hole. Anyway, so these go in that little triangle section by the quarter windows behind you, where you can put in the headset jacks. This one's going to seem kind of weird. So my MGL RDAC unit has an input for manifold pressure. Do I need manifold pressure in an airplane with a fixed pitch prop? No, I do not. However, it has the ability to do that, and it also has the ability, based on manifold pressure, to tell you how much horsepower your engine's putting out. It's just information, kind of geeking out. The Verner engine doesn't really have a way to conveniently tap into intake manifold to get that kind of pressure, so I had kind of given up on that idea. Then one day it occurred to me that the number 5 cylinder has an intake manifold tap on it. On radial engine airplanes, you can get oil that pools in either the exhaust manifold of the cylinder to the right of center line, or in the intake manifold of the cylinder, which is to the left of center line in most radial engine airplanes. Oil in the exhaust just barfs out, causes a lot of smoke. Oil in the intake side gets sucked into the engine, and that could cause a bent connecting rod. One day I kind of had this forehead slapper moment that if this particular intake manifold has this fitting, that I might be able to get a intake manifold that allows me to tap into a fitting and therefore get my manifold pressure gauge. So I sent an email to Camille Verner and asked him if I could get one of these, and he sent it to me. Literally, it was faster than Amazon. It was like 2 days from the time I ordered it till it was at my house. So it's undrilled. I will tap this for some kind of fitting. I will put it in one of the upper cylinders and then tap it to that RDAC. Welcome to whatever episode this is. All right, taking a walk. This is my MGL RDAC unit, and this is where that manifold pressure fitting goes in. Flaperons are on. These are my replacement flaperons I got because the original ones I had were disbonding at the trailing edge. I finished up my turtle deck installation, the quarter turn fasteners. I just fit these up yesterday. These filler pieces, I have a little bit more trimming to do right up here just to make sure that comes out. Wishing I would have done this a long time ago, painted at the same time, whatever. Just yesterday, I whipped out this piece of molding and I put it on here. This piece, unlike the one I have, which I wish it, unlike this one, which is not bonded on yet, this one has VHB sticky stuff inside. So I don't have these screws in currently, but it's not holding me back from driving the airplane around on the ground. Part of getting ready for inspection is putting the experimental placard required by law. Other stuff required by law, passenger warning, which I put on the right side because that's kind of traditional, even though I'll probably fly from that side most of the time. Instrumentation. Let it boot up here. So in the last video I ran the engine, and of course it sounds cool. I believe I mentioned that I was having a fueling issue. Well, I certainly was. It was running 60 psi, which was implausible to me. Well, I got back home the other day, came over here, grabbed the test kit. Without calibrating it, I hooked it up exactly where the fuel pressure sensor goes, and I hit the boost pump. And it turns out 60 psi was implausible. It was actually 110 psi on the gauge. And where I thought the pumps were putting out 60 psi, that's just because the upper limit of my fuel pressure sending unit was 60 psi. So knowing that I could not call Brett with 110 psi, unless I had calibrated that gauge, I took it over to my local FBO over here. We used a differential pressure tester, and we evaluated actually that and the oil pressure kit I got, set it at 20, my gauge reads 20, set it at 40, reads 40, so forth, on up to 120 psi. The gauge is accurate. So the other thing Brett had asked me to do is create a schematic diagram of my entire fuel system. So I started by whipping this out on my whiteboard and then transferring that to a piece of paper for a bar napkin sketch, and he saw right away that I don't have a return line. Well, I do now, so it's kind of hard to see right now. I think I took some other video I'll put over the top of this. All right, so before I put this thing back in place, it's going to block the view. This is how I've recovered from not having a return line. I put in a T-fitting right here. That leads to return line. Had to remake this one a little bit longer. This is the T where the fuel pressure center unit comes off of. It used to be right up against the fuel servo, so it's out. The T is in place. I did mess with a couple different configurations there. So I had to create this line. This is the bulkhead fitting I put in, so the return line comes from down here, up, goes into that. Elbow fitting on the inside goes down, and it's flex hose all the way back to the header tank. Since I had to drain my fuel system anyway, I decided to take care of this problem where this hard fuel line I created was touching these rudder cables. So I shortened it by this much, and because there's a learning curve to this, I practiced several times with my flaring tool, and given that I couldn't take this out of the airplane, I was worried about chips falling down inside there. I mean, like, what's the worst that could happen? So what I did is I took a little piece of shop rag and I put some grease on it and I slid it down the hole, and then I went ahead and did the deburr operation, and the grease was on it to have chips stick to it, and I just came out of the shop vac, sucked that out of there, worked perfect. Those Adele clamps you see right there are going to get replaced by the appropriate size. It has the rubber. I had to remove it in this case just to do some ground runs and verify that everything was fine. Anyway, this says 25 psi on there. I'm running about 31, which is still within the range. Engine runs way better. Nice smooth idle, all that. It's good. Next up was oil pressure. It's my VDO automotive style. Has 2 leads on it. One goes to my RDAC unit for the oil pressure that shows up in my engine information, and the other one is 8 psi alert. It should show a light on my instrument panel if it's below 8 psi. So the other day I removed this, put on the analog gauge, stuck it up here with a zip tie, and then went and drove around. And I was getting the 40 to 60 psi, which is what I needed to see. Still working on the 8 psi thing. Alright, so working the whiteboard list, I finished up the firewall flapper. It goes back underneath there. And just copied Gary with the wood blocks. High salt in place has some T-nuts and number 8 screws. And then I drilled a hole for my second transponder antenna. Anyway, enough of that. Let's pull this thing out and go for a drive. All right, well, that was fun. Trying to get some cycles, pull it out, drive it around, get used to how the airplane taxis. Pretty conventional for Kitfox. Visibility over the nose is exactly what I expected. Part of firing it up and driving it around is getting used to the engine start sequence and style. I keep trying to drive it like a Continental. It's not. Oil pressure's good, fuel pressure's good, oil temperature's good. Anyway, what's left? Headset jacks. Got to do the tape that runs up the base of the vertical fin. I have done it twice now, messed it up pretty bad. I think I know what I did wrong. Basically, I rushed the procedure, and it was ugly. Embarrassingly, I have a little bit of hanger rash. I will talk about when the statute of limitations is up. I have to patch some fabric. I have a little bit of work to do on the main gear. I have to pull these wheels off. There is no hole for the big cotter key that goes through there, so I have to drill that, and I can't drill it with the wheel in place. And then I also have some bolts that hold the brake backing plate to the landing gear, and those bolts, they do not get the required 1 to 3 threads. They're basically flush with the nylon. Probably wouldn't come off, but I have the right bolt, so as long as I have that, it'll make me feel better, and it will help pass inspection. My registration is sent in. I'm waiting to hear back from them. So interesting side trip. Because this airplane was originally crafted by SkyStar, it is not on the 51% build list. And the current owners of Kitfox don't feel it's their responsibility to provide that kind of information. So I thought I was having to go down the path of showing the previous builders, the original builder who bought this kit from SkyStar, and the builder who had it before me. Got a twin-engine CB down there. But that's not how it works. So per my DAR, what he's having me do is claim it's a plans built from parts. I definitely built everything on here, so I had to do the 51% checklist. I conservatively came up with 67%. That I was never worried about. But anyway, that paperwork is submitted. Once they respond back with my registration, then I go online. There's some more crap I have to fill out, and then have all my documentation. Call my designated airworthiness representative, whatever JAR stands for. He said call him within 2 weeks of flying the airplane. I'm hoping that's going to be September now. So this is middle of July. So then I also have to weigh the plane. Now that it's pretty much in its final form, I am done adding crap. I can actually give it a weight. So I swore up and down it's going to be 810 pounds. It's gained a few. But hopefully still a reasonable number. See you next time.